So, first thing is, what are your current job responsibilities?
Well, I oversee all the media sales, which includes linear, digital, our regional news channels, our regional sports channels for Charter Communications, which we brand under the name Spectrum.
Okay, and how much is your job dependent on data?
Well, my job isn't really dependent on data, but to do my job better and to do it at the maximum, data is really important to us, and it's becoming more and more important.
You and I have been talking data for, shall I say, 18 years now.
Right.
So at what point in the past 18 years have you really started to see that data has made an impact in the sales process?
Well, we first started, maybe 10, 11 years ago when, data's always sort of been used, but very limited. What we've started to use when we did household addressability at Cablevision here in New York, we started to use data to find audiences and target them. Now today, it's amazing the data that we use in every one of our markets. We're in 80 markets, and you can go in there on an iPad and say you want to reach people that make over $100,000 a year, that own their own home, and their car lease is up in 6 months. We can optimize that buy for you. So we're using that data like we've never used before, and nobody else can duplicate it. We're the only ones that have it.
How finely can you get a certain segment, or at what point do you say there's not enough universe?
Well, usually if it's less than a couple percentage points of the total universe, we always recommend to our advertisers, that's not a big enough target. Again, it's all anonymized, it's all aggregated. We can't tell you that it's Joe Blow at 101 Main Street, but we lump all those like people together, so when we send an ad call out, it's only going to those homes that meet that criteria.
Can you tell me about Audience APP? Is that correct?
Yeah, Audience app.
Audience app.
Yeah, the Audience app is what we've rolled out over the last year and a half in 80 markets, and you literally on an iPad can walk into a car dealer, say, okay, what target audience are you looking at? You can pick from all kinds of propensities to buy, all kinds of demographic information. You target it out, then you pick your schedule, when you want to run, and then you put in how much money you want to spend or how many impressions you want, and literally in 6 seconds it'll sift through, could be hundreds of thousands if not millions of set-top boxes, looking at the viewership data and optimizing that by looking at what inventory is available and at the lowest price, and literally in 6 seconds you've got a schedule there that you can share with your advertisers. It's revolutionized what we do, and we're the only ones that have it at scale.
So this has a planning capability. Does it translate into buying and selling? Do you use the output to guarantee?
We don't use the output to guarantee. We could if we ever needed to, but generally we're traded on the local businesses without guarantees. So we don't need it for that. And down the road, if we want to use that same platform to reach advertisers that can just go online and use it because they're too small to send somebody out to sell, we can use it that way as well. So but it's like the iPhone. The iPhone 2, when it came out, you thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Nothing like it. You look back on it now with the iPhone 10, you think, boy, that thing was really small and it didn't do a lot. Well, we're in the infancy of how we're using our data. So there's going to be many more incarnations of that.
So you had mentioned on the panel that the work you're doing with the the NCC to take, 3 different MVP data and work together to nationalize. At that point, do you think that you would be able to sell on a national basis, guarantee the buys? Is there some plan to do that eventually, or it's not really being discussed yet?
We wouldn't sell again like a national. We'd sell spot. It'd still be spot cable, so we'd look at various markets to do that. We're not going to get into competition with national networks. However, we can use that same platform to help those national networks in their own time, not our 2 minutes an hour, but their own time, do better targeting.
What data do you use on the Audience app?
We use our proprietary viewership data that comes from our, again, it's all anonymized and aggregated, but it comes from our set-tops, it comes from all our IP-connected devices, iPads, iPhones, you name it. So it's not just set-top box data, it's all viewership data that we glean. And we've got about 60 million devices connected.
So you're talking impressions, or do you use
impressions?
Okay. Does this have an attribution component, and if so, what is that?
It does not have an attribution component built into the actual app itself, but we actually do that more manually with the clients on the back end. So we can buy the data, and if they're willing to share with us their results, like how many cars they sold or how many service calls they got off this, we can show them. They can get a pure, real ROI model.
Great. Does this have the capability of being cross-platform? You're gathering data
Yes,
from a
it
variety
does.
of places.
We have a product called Audience Track that really does the digital part. We're bringing it all together so you can look holistically at that's coming later this year. You can look holistically at your campaign. You can see every impression you get by digital, by television, by on-demand, streaming, you name it. You'll be able to see it all in one place. So yes, that's all possible.
And it'll all be data that you can, because it'll all be impressions, or
it's all impression-based. So we're moving to impression-based locally even faster than they are nationally.
How do you combine the local station's website information? Oftentimes,
How do we what? Say that again?
The local station's website information. Oftentimes local news is a big component, and then there's this online aspect to it through the website. Are you able to bring it all together?
Yeah, we are. We have since we own our own assets, our own programming assets, we're able to do it. I think I have time for one more.
Okay. How will ATSC 3.0 impact local television?
Well, look, I know how hard it was when we first launched addressability in New York 10, 11 years ago. One company, one management team, one technology, and it still took us 5 years. So, you know what? While I applaud what they're doing, I think it's going to be a very long time before you see that adopted by broadcasters, and I think we're going to be at scale by that time. By the way, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, them doing it, but I know how hard it is to do, so good luck to them.
Thank you.